Now I want us to focus on a different conversation, and that is what was happening towards the end of last week. We saw that leaders from the Mount Kenya region converging in Sagana to have a meeting with the president. Of course, a rare meeting. I think it's the first one in a long time, several months. Let's just listen into what Francis Gashure compiled on that day.
The strong political winds that have blown across the Mount Kenya region forced President Uhuru Kenyatta to convene a closed-door meeting with the political class, business persons and community leaders at Sagana State Lodge, Nyeri County. It was the first meeting bringing together rival political factions in Jubilee Party, Kieleweke that fashions itself as pro-Kenyatta, and Tanga Tanga that is allied to Deputy President William Ruto. Kenyatta blasting a section of leaders that he claims was plotting his succession in 2022 while he was still in office, weighing in on the high voltage and abusive politics that have characterized the region. The president also took time to explain his decision to close ranks with ODM leader Raila Odinga, culminating in a pact popularly dubbed the handshake in March last year. Kenyatta dismissing claims that the deal with Odinga and Building Bridges initiative was meant to dump his deputy William Ruto ahead of the 2022 change of guard at State House. The handshake, according to Kenyatta, was to bring national unity, citing the recently held Kibra parliamentary by-election that was largely peaceful during the campaign period. We can think differently politically, but we can respect one another. He termed premature debate on the much-anticipated BBI report, which has split the Mount Kenya region. The president laughing off claims that a prime minister slot was being crafted for him to ensure his continued stay in power.
Ile handshake imeleta usawa Nairobi, na ameongea mambo vile Nairobi iko sawa, vile kumekuwa na shida kwa muda mrefu, na siku hii watu wanafanya kazi pamoja.
The president has restated that he supports one man, one vote, one shilling. We are on the same page. And like him, we are also waiting. Those who have been saying that is about referendum, it's about prime minister, he has told them to shut up. Those who have been saying they are opposed to it, to shut up. Let us all wait, including himself.
What is contained in the report, all of us should not be going around, speculating, inasema hii, inasema ile. We should wait for it. When it comes, he will show it to us.
And he said he has not seen the report, but if he was to give his position, he would go for inclusion. He would talk about inclusion, not exclusion. He wants every Kenyan to feel part and parcel of government.
Leaders from across the political divide who attended the Sagana meeting weighing in on Kenyatta's speech, which could kick off a new conversation in this region.
Tugoje huu mkutano wa next week. Sasa kutoka hapo ajenda zitawekwa chini, ili sasa wale ambao wamekuwa labda wakitusi rais ama wakikosea heshima, tuone sasa maendeleo vile tutaanza kuipanga.
We were here in 2016 and I'm very sad that even from the speeches, whatever we said here in 2016 is the same thing you have said today. You would assume there are some people who will come from Mars to solve the problems. I hope we will not be here in 2023 talking about the same things. So we want to see some action. True. Yeah? Well, there's nothing new I've heard today.
The president has now invited elected leaders for a meeting next week, followed by visits to all counties in coming weeks to discuss development in the region. Observers believe the president's meeting, which was the first of its kind in 2 years, was meant to lay the ground for the BBI report, which could be released as soon as next week. Despite his tough stance on members of parliament that he claimed have been plotting on his succession in 2022, even before he exits the stage, President Uhuru Kenyatta today opted a more conciliatory tone in his first meeting with the Mount Kenya leadership in 2 years. Focus now shifts to the BBI report and its recommendations, and whether Kenyatta will be able to rally the region behind the initiative he crafted with his handshake partner, Raila Odinga. Francis Gashure, Citizen TV, State Lodge, Sagana, Nyeri County.
All right, so that's the reflection or the assessment of what transpired at the meeting in Sagana. We understand that there were 4,000 people in that meeting, and Ndindi Nyoro, you're part of that meeting. And what we learned is that it was addressed by about 5 speakers. Governor, Governor Kiraitu Morongi of Meru, he spoke on, He spoke on behalf of governors. Then we saw Senator Njeru Ndwiga from Embu County, then Member of Parliament for Murang'a County, that is Sabina Chege. There was Bishop Anthony Muheria, Archbishop, and Zachary Kinuthia representing the youth. And exactly who are these 4,000 people, and what were the messages of those 5 leaders that were representing the region?
First of all, I'm under obligation not to discuss specifics on what happened in the meeting, because I believe the president had the right intentions of not invited the media.
Wow.
And therefore, I cannot be the media because I've come on Citizen TV.
Yet all of you have been speaking to the media on the contents of the meeting.
I'll go on the generalities. First of all, I want to thank the president, because I think this meeting was supposed to be some kind of rapprochement, where we have some functions from Mount Kenya region, putting on different sides. And of course, when we are united, we are better off for our people. And therefore, the meeting was long overdue, and we discussed many things, general things, in regards to the Mount Kenya region.
Right.
And one of the issues that I want to support the president on, because that has always been my viewpoint, and especially the issue of BBI, because that is one of the hot topics in our country now. And he actually have listened to Kenyans, and what he said is what every other Kenyan, either from my...
So what did he say?
One of the general principles of the president, being a Democrat, is that when we are approaching such a heavy matter, we are supposed to read for ourselves such kind of a document, then we make informed decisions. And I think that is what we've always been asking for.
But was that in doubt?
That has always been in doubt, because as you know, the people who are called the Kieleweke plus ODM, they are brothers. They have always told us that BBI, whatever is in there, whether it is poison, whatever it is in there, we have to support. And those who will not support, they'll be swept away by a tsunami that Raila Odinga is supposedly bringing.
So from that meeting, there's no tsunami that is coming?
What I know is that every Kenyan will have a right to decide, first of all, what is in the BBI, the right to know. Number 2, they'll have their voice heard on what they want it to be or taken care of in the BBI. But the major point, Sam, is the issue of malapportionment. Malapportionment in terms of when you look at how, for example, we have divided our constituencies. It is clear, Sam, that most of us from very populated areas are not well represented. And what we are just saying is that even if we are not going to touch the borders, because that again is another very fiery topic in our country about borders, we have to sit down as a country and talk about resources. It is Dede Nyoro who pays taxes and Sam Getuko who pays taxes. It is not 2 kilometers or 5 kilometers. It is not trees that pay taxes. It is not camels or even goats. It is the people who pay taxes. And one of the principles of equity is that if it is me who pays taxes, it is a human being that votes, then when it comes to resources, we have to consider human beings. And one of the principles that we are studying on as Mount Kenya leaders is 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling.
All right, I want us to take a break, but Senator Olekina, you're exclaiming. What is the matter?
No, I think just listening to the Honourable Member of Parliament, I am completely perplexed as to which direction we're taking. And he was reacting to their meeting. Then I think it's about time that I too call the entire Maasai nation and the pastoralists to think about the way forward. I think in this country, we've got to start thinking as one Kenya. You know, it is not that certain people are more Kenyans than others. I mean, it's really annoying. Because I was listening to the reaction of one other member of parliament, I don't know his name, when he was taking the president said he supports 1 man, 1 vote.
You don't know the name of
the resources. Okay, I don't know his name. But the thing is, it is really annoying because everything is boiling down to a few elite. And now we are about to see every single penny that we collect in this country going to Mount Kenya region. It is annoying.
Okay, allow us to take a short break. On your turn, we begin with you on the fate of what transpired of the weekend. We'll also be listening to some of the voices that leaders have been airing, but you can also text us your views on 22422 or Twitters at Citizen TV Kenya on what you think about calming the mountain, the meeting that was over the weekend. Back in a moment. All right, welcome back. You're watching Daybreak and you're talking about the news review of what happened on Friday. Coming the mountain with Ndindi Nyoro from Kiharu, Dr. Chris Wamalwa from Kiminini, as well as Senator Leda Molekina from Narok. And Dr. Chris, you were just about to give your comments. And when you look at the meeting and the agenda that was, of course, Nyoro says that he will not go into the details, but you've heard from the leaders that have been speaking about it. Was it necessary to have such a meeting, despite the feeling that Central Kenya is sort of becoming, or rather Mount Kenya is becoming selfish? Was it necessary, bearing in mind the division that has been within the party and the region?
Yeah, this meeting was purely for the president and his people because his backyard was melting. The mountain was melting. When you look at the three top leaders, you see Raila's territory is under lock and key. Ruto's territory as well. But the president's territory was the one which was divided. So it was boiling. As a matter of fact, DP William Ruto had penetrated his territory. So the president was not in control of his region. And the critical point why he was meeting them was to prepare the way for the BBI.
Okay.
Because when the BBI comes, the big resistance you are getting are from his region. So that shows he's not in control. So he tried to bring them together so that to minimize the issue of resistance. To me, I think that was the main objective.
Okay.
But now as a country, the president is a unifying factor. And we get disturbed, like the people from Rift Valley were saying, should we also have our own meeting? The pastoral are saying, should they also have their own meeting? Of course, with their own leadership, so that they can try to set the agenda. Because as a president, for you to go and meet somewhere is demonstrating aspect of tribalism. And that's why other communities are thinking, must you also come together, we unite ourselves so that we can be able to know how we are going to articulate for the welfare of our community.
Right.
We just had Ledama talking about it. He said about the pastoralists. People from Western region, we're also wondering. So this particular Mount Kenya committee, it will bring also more divisions. Because like in other regions, if they're discussing about development in their respective region, we expect the president himself, after he has finished with this Mount Kenya, he should meet the people from Western Kenya. We also have issues. The Rift Valley, the pastoralists. That's what the message was cutting across. But the issue here to me...
Dr. Chris, let me ask you, because you're saying that he was discussing matters development with the leaders, but the speeches we've had since that meeting ended until now, even him, he's in studio, he's talking about BBI. We hear of Moses Kuria saying that the same issues were discussed in 2016 and he hopes they'll not be discussed in 2023.
Said there's some critical issues that they discussed that should not access the public. You remember he said that? But he talked that he's going to discuss generalities. So what is this that they're hiding from that meeting that other Kenyans shouldn't be able to know? That's the question we're asking ourselves. So for us to come and talk about the issues of BBI, maybe there are critical issues they discuss pertaining to their region and this to do with the development. The president is supposed to ensure that every area in this country is developed because Masais pay taxes, Luyas pay taxes, Turkanas pay taxes, and everyone is entitled to development. But to me, in my own interpretation, I'm talking about the BBI. The president.
We'll get to that. Let me just cut you short. But
I didn't comment because you just asked me on my reaction.
Please go ahead.
I think this is a very, very, very dangerous trend. This issue of divisiveness in this country is what is going to separate, to really destroy this country. You know, I took personal offense. Statements that says that other people do not pay taxes and one man, one vote. Let me tell you what Kenyans and a shilling. Let me tell you what Kenyans.
Who said that the Kenyans don't pay taxes?
You know, let me tell you something. What Kenyans should expect, and Kenyans should brace themselves for this. For the reality, is that what is going to happen now, moving forward, is that almost every taxpayer's money will go to Mount Kenya region. That's where all those projects will go.
What's wrong with that?
Because when it comes to a point where we are saying now the president was meeting his own people, who are we? Then why don't we then divide this country into different segments so that everybody can say this is my region, this is my region. I think it's about time that we should think as Kenya as one. And the problems that we have, we brought in devolution. Let us build these devolved units and ensure that those devolved units, which has all Kenyans living in them, you know, this, if it is not observed properly, let me tell you, it is not going to be about Kieleweke and the other ones, what do you call it? The other portion, Tanga. It is going to be about people looking at themselves as tribal. You know, the pastoralists are pissed off. But you know, the pastoralists, let me tell you, you saw the majority leader coming out and saying that they were not happy with the issue of census. You know, you saw the Samburu women representative coming out and saying she's not happy with the issue of census. The Luyas are saying the same thing. Let me tell you, what is going to happen is this. We are now going to count our own people. Like I said, every county governor is able to count his own people. Count the people you have in your county, and then put those census results there.
Senator Lekina, before you respond, I have an issue to take with you. When you say that now all the money will be going to Mount Kenya region, what evidence do you base it on?
Let me tell you. I mean, listen to what everybody's saying. You know? And let me tell you, you know, Kenya, we don't live in the dark age. We live today. You will see what is going to happen. When Moi was in power, you know, a lot of people complained that they were not benefiting, and a lot of those projects went there. Today, when Uhuru Kenyatta is in power, the people in Central and Mount Kenya region are saying, you've neglected us. So, of course, everything will go back there. So, what about us?
So Honorable Nyoro, I don't know whether you have any specific responses.
Yeah, I have.
Go ahead.
Because we've always seen even PG for pastoralists, he attends. I've never attended. I've never questioned why they actually attend those meetings or even the agenda. No. But why do people get so restless when we meet?
But was the president
especially
PG for pastoralists?
He's a Kikuyu, like that's the way you meet. I mean,
when you become president, and the issue of
let me finish. Let me finish. You have to give me an opportunity.
And we need to speak
That meeting was a meeting for people who speak my language. That is why even the language we used was our language, because largely it was a cultural meeting, and largely we were talking about cultural issues in regards to our region. And Adam, I don't see the reason why you'd get so angry, even with my colleague Dr. Chris, when you always have meetings. We've seen cultural meetings in Turkana, for example. No one questions why Turkana leaders are coming together, etc., etc. But also some, then we have to discuss.
A meeting that is a meeting that is
by the president, the head of state.
No, let me finish.
Just hold on. A meeting that is addressed by Governor Kiretu Murungi, Senator Njeru Ndwiga, Woman Representative Sabina Shege, Bishop Anthony Muheria, and Zachary Kinoti representing the youth. How is that a cultural meeting?
But also, we have to ask ourselves, how did this meeting happen? We've been pushing for it as leadership from that region, because we felt there are issues we need, even beyond our cultural issues, there are issues that we needed to discuss with our president. And I don't think, Ledama, anyone has put a barrier on you from inviting the president for any narrow meeting. But also, we have to discard completely this theory that has always been advanced, that you have to slow the donkey, you have to slow the horse for the donkey to catch up. What we are just saying, even here on live TV,
can you hear what he's saying?
Is that we have to
I believe he's using that metaphorically.
We have to get our full entitlement.
No,
and we cannot agree
anymore. We can't agree to that.
Our full entitlement,
that sort of argument
just
our full entitlement is that we have to get revenues that are incommensurate with the population of our people.
Is that a challenge currently?
It is a huge challenge.
How so? How so?
Look, for example, a county like Murang'a. We receive Kenya shillings around 6 billion. With a population that is generally like double that of Turkana, that is getting double our money. If you look at the per capita allocation of money that comes to Murang'a, you compare the same with the money that goes, for example, to Wajir, the money that goes to Duales County, Garissa, then you see the kind of throwing the horse for the donkey to catch up that I'm talking about.
But it's based on a formula that takes into consideration the number of people, the poverty index, the land area, and level of development. I mean, why would you fold that? Why not then make your presentations before CRA?
You know, some of these analogies are based on falsehoods. For example, if I'm to ask you, the issue of poverty index, if you look at the revenue share formula, around 18% of that money goes to something that we call poverty index. Who determines who is poorer than the other? They look at the name, they see Kamau, they see coffee, there is coffee and tea, they come from Murang'a, that's a rich region. Yet in our region, we actually have huge pockets of poverty that are never considered when we talk about equalization fund and any other fund that should actually address poverty index and poverty levels. Those are the kind of things that we want addressed. and you are not relating on that because you are just asking for our
we must respond to that.
Okay. Yes, you will. But let's start with Dr. Chris Wamalwa here. So a region is aggrieved, and for so many months they have not been stable politically, but also they have had their concerns. And I was waiting for him to raise them, but he doesn't raise them because I've seen one of the reports that have been prepared that is talking about the situation to do with the coffee sector, the milk sector, the tea sector. I mean, if a region is having such issues and want to take it up with the president, What's is the problem?
Now, the issue is he has raised the concern about his region. And I agree with him to an extent of talking about the population. Even in central Kenya, poverty is there. We don't refuse, okay? But that was not the right forum because we have the CRA formula. You can address this issue when it comes to the issues of the CRA because population plays a critical role. I think in the formula, it contributes about 45%.
To the 45%. You wanted to 75.
But now, when it comes to equalization fund, like for instance, I come from Trans Nzoia County. Trans Nzoia is a granary, yes, but we have very poor people. So we need to change the regions in terms of poverty. The poverty index has totally changed. When you go to regions like Trans Nzoia, for example, where I come from, we have regions where people are very poor. And we want these people to also be considered when it comes to issues of equalization fund. We need to address that issue. But now, why I'm concerned about the president meeting the Mount Kenya, and he's the one who organized because they were in a state lodge in Sagana, he should go ahead and prepare another meeting for the Western region. We also have our issues. Let him also go meet the pastoralists. The president, you are a unifying factor.
I've asked a specific question, Dr. Chris Wamalwa. Is there a problem with the Mount Kenya region, all the counties and the leaders there meeting with the president, even if they speak the same language?
As far as I'm concerned, I have two issues I want to address there. First, I don't see any big deal, so long as he's going to organize other regions so that they can also be able to
the other regions are okay.
No, they're not okay. For example, in Western region, we can't say we're okay. When you look at the composition of the cabinet, we only have one cabinet secretary from Western region. And in terms of population, we are actually number one. Kikuyus follow the Luyas. That's why you're concerned about this census.
I don't know why you're laughing.
They have two CSs.
See, we have one CS.
There is Wamalwa and there is this for sports.
Echesa was sent away.
The one for sports, my friend.
No.
She comes from Kakamega.
No, she represents the region. The other region.
You can't deny your people here.
That's okay.
The kind of solution that we need in this country is that we must be honest with each other. I have issues with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Because they chose, they chose what to release and what not to release. I will be seeking a statement in the floor of the House tomorrow, asking the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to issue a rural and urban population by county. We want rural and urban household by county. And we also need the poverty index so that we know how many we are. We know how these resources are going to be divided. Because let me tell you, there are games being played and will be played, and Kenya is one. You know, this issue of saying, the president meet people in one region, people go to another region. Seriously,
that's
for me, let me tell you, I don't support that at all.
You don't support?
I think we've got, the president should not be pressurized to a point where he feels like he can now divide the country into different segments. He should not be put into that position. You know, we've got county governments. There's nothing wrong with the region county governors meeting to discuss their issues. If it is true indeed, they're talking about the issue of milk prices, that is something that I would support. If they're talking about the issue of stopping a lot of importations of coffee and other products so that we can mop up local product, and that I'll support.
Okay.
Let me tell you, in Europe, what is happening right now in Europe, farmers are pissed off. Farmers are pouring all their milk because there's a lot of import coming into the country. If the region is sitting together to discuss economic activities like that, on how they can be able to improve the standard of living of their people, then I would support. But if you start segmenting and saying, meet our people, come and meet our people, I mean, we are really
it's very contradictory.
There are certain voices I wanted us to listen to, but we're still waiting for them. But
as they come.
There's a report I saw. I don't know whether you've seen that document that has been prepared by a task force. Let me see what they're calling themselves. They're calling themselves Tea and Coffee Initiative, the rapid rollout of priority reforms in the coffee subsector for the revitalization of smallholder coffee farming in Kenya. Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
Yes, and so there are several proposals, and I will highlight some of them later on, but I want to get it from you people? Because you've been saying that there are those challenges in those economic sectors in that region.
Subsectors.
But have you proposed any solutions yourselves before that meeting happened?
We have been doing so. That's why if you look at that that report, you can see that there are other, it has reference to bills that are in the pipeline. But before I come to that bill, let me correct my brother Ledama and Chris. You talk about CRA formula, about 45% being population. That is Dr. Chris. And therefore, that is good enough. But I want to tell you, Chris, when it comes to voting, it is usually 100% population, about population. It is never 100% about poverty index, 100% about expansiveness of land. Otherwise, kilometers would be queuing to vote.
But does the country serve voters or the citizens?
I'm coming now to the source of revenue, which is taxation. When you talk about taxation, the queues on KRA are never about how many kilometers are queuing. It is human beings that queue to pay taxes. So when it comes now to people expending this money, we should give at least the preference to population, that is human beings. And we are asking that this formula ought to take care of the real people, human beings, the real component of revenue collection, that is human beings, when it comes to dispersing the funds. And from where I sit, we should be asking around 75% of the national money be expended in terms of population, not in terms of all the other considerations.
Just hold on. What happens to the regions that have been marginalized, that have serious challenges in development?
Which serious challenges? I mean, each and every region in this country. I mean,
have you seen the infrastructure challenges?
I can see some.
I have been the access to education.
Let me give examples of where I've been, because I find ourselves being very contradictory. When the president, for example, goes to open a port in Mombasa, huge multi-billion projects in Kisumu, they never speak. When we have just a meeting to address our cultural issues and to address the matters of our fair share of development, they are all over yelling. Honestly, you need to give us a break, because Kamaus and Wajikos are just as Kenyans as any other Kenyans. And we are leaders elected by them, not to ask for Ledama's share, but to ask for my fair share. But you asked a specific question about tea, coffee, and milk. And Sam, I go back to the topic and to the point that I gave there before about the infrastructure that we are building, which is commendable. And I can dare say, no president in the history of Kenya have worked as hard as Uhuru Kenyatta when it comes to infrastructural development. The kilometers of road he has built with his able ministers like Macharia, the connection that he has done in terms of electricity, penetration, with the able assistance of Keter and PS Joroge, the kind of water projects that we are seeing at Dachelgoe and PS Irongo is of monumental proportions. They are happening across. They are happening in Western region, they are happening in Masailand, as they are happening in Mount Kenya region. So we have to give it to him that he's doing a commendable job when it comes to brick and mortar and when it comes to infrastructure. The biggest issue with this country currently, and that is why there is a phrase called Jeshi Tigenu in our area, that Jeshi is not happy, that the population is restless.
And who is Jeshi?
Jeshi is the population. Jeshi is me and you and Redama and all the other Kenyans. Common mwananchi put together. The reason why these people are not happy, Ledama, let me finish my point, is because even as we do this infrastructural development, the pockets are dry. The pockets of the Kenyan people are dry. And why? Kenya is predominantly an agricultural economy. Like in Kiharu, there is no household that do not rely on agriculture. When you talk about agriculture, you cannot put aside coffee, tea, and
milk.
You cannot talk about agriculture without touching milk. Even him, his main business is in milk, and he can tell you there is a huge cry when it comes to milk prices. There is a huge cry when it comes to bonuses in terms of tea,
All right.
And of course, the prices of coffee.
All right, we'll get back to that
there must
after the break,
equitable
as well as
time
listening.
when it comes to
Yes,
competition.
and we'll do that.
Yeah,
after the
because
break.
you are being biased.
Give Mount Kenya
Dr.
a fair
Chris,
share,
Give us
even
enough
here.
time, equitably.
Dr. Chris, you'll
not
speak
get
first when you come
skewed.
back.
Yeah,
so we take a
please.
short break on it and we also listen to the voices of what leaders have been saying about this matter after the break.